Hey everyone, so today I have a very special guest. I don't do a lot of interviews. I think this is my first interview actually, but basically this is my friend Ryan. He's going to start working at Facebook in June. Yeah. If you watched every one of my videos, then you've heard about him. In my How to Be an Intern Part 3, he's actually the guy who was like, bada bing! But yeah, why don't you tell us about who you are and what got you to your Facebook offer?
Sure. So I'm Ryan. I'm studying computer science at UC Berkeley. I'm a senior, and I started studying computer science about 2 years ago. Before that, I was an economics major. At the time, I had met Jeffrey, and he was working at Yelp. From there, he showed me kind of what it takes, what he's working on, what it takes to be a computer science major, stuff like that. And I was like, it sounds really, really neat. Let me give it a try. So I took our intro class, that's CS61A. I really liked it, and then I kept going forward from there. It was definitely a hard switch, but in the end, I got an offer from one of the top companies, so it was definitely worth it in the long run.
It just took you 2 years to get into computer science?
Yes.
Up until getting the offer at the Facebook.
Yeah, so I got that offer back around, October, I think, late October. So it was about a year and a half of my journey. I think after my first 6 months or so in computer science, I got an internship offer. Maybe it was about 8 months. I got my first internship offer, and then about a year and 2 or 3 months later, I got my first full-time offer at Facebook. So it was pretty sweet.
Let's start at the first offer.
Sure.
What do you think you needed to know in order to get that first internship?
To get the first internship, it really depends on what you're shooting for. I've known some of my friends at Berkeley have gotten top internships where you need to know a lot more as their first, in fact. But for most people, it's going to be a relatively unknown company. In fact, for me, it was a relatively unknown company, and what it took was some basic data structures knowledge. So if there's any Berkeley students out there watching, it's CS61B, but most
CS12
most computer science courses will have data structures. If not, should be a little worried. And then basically after that, you'll have the foundation. You should definitely give LeetCode a look over and probably do easy questions, and have basic interviewing etiquette as well. So knowing how to answer, there are very basic interview questions that most companies will ask you, and you should at least give those a look over as well.
What's your favorite data structure?
Oh God, I say hash map. Everyone loves a hash map, okay, fine. Should I go? Is that too easy?
I don't know.
How about a linked list, a doubly linked list, a circular linked list. All right, that's a fun one.
Okay. Why is it your favorite?
It's not.
If I was a data structure, which data structure would you be?
If I was a data structure, what would I be? This, by the way, is not one of the easy questions. This is a hard interview question right here. I would probably be an array. So nice and simple, and
wow.
And I'm easy to index into.
What?
Just kidding. I don't know. What are these interview questions?
Anyway, okay.
All right.
Okay, so how long were you at your first job?
My first internship, it was over summer, so I started about mid-May. It was, I think, 3 months. 12, yeah, it was exactly 12 weeks actually. So that went from May to mid-August, about a week and a half before school started back up. So I think I got about a week and a half, 2 weeks off after school ended, and then it started right up. So we've been on a bit of a grind, but most internships, I'd say, are very lax with how much they expect out of you. So it's not too bad on going straight from school to working, because they'll definitely ease you into it. They don't expect much from you, and then you'll also meet a ton of great people too. So it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it.
Okay, I guess so. You switched to CS, you took intro courses,
Yep.
then you studied a little bit, got your first internship for the summer. Then I guess like right after that, you had to start preparing for Facebook, your eventual Facebook interview.
Yeah, so it was at the time I had met someone who referred me to Facebook at my internship, and so I actually delayed it for a bit. I think I got the referral around late July, but I kept pushing it back until about mid-September when I felt like I was ready. So a little bit about the process. I took about a month and a half to 2 months of a lot of hard lead coding. So I think I began with doing about 3 questions a day. That was when, I really didn't know much. I knew the basic data structures like an array and all that, and I got all the run times and everything like that. But when you start having to put that to work, it's hard, and you don't really know anything at the time. And it's okay to not know anything, but you have to keep working at it. And sooner than I thought, actually, I got to the medium questions. So I started to get through all the easy questions, and I could use a variety of different sorts of data structures to solve these problems. And I worked up to medium questions, and then at that point I was doing about 5 questions a day. I think about a week and a half before my interview, my phone screen, I was doing about 8 medium questions a day of lead code, and I was up to about 170 problems or so done.
Wow.
So yeah,
I think I only got 70 done.
Yeah, so I did about a month and a half of prep, going from literally not knowing how to do questions like 2-sum in obviously, like, you can, well, not obviously, but I could do it, but it's not an optimal runtime, to knowing 3 different ways of doing it, optimizing for different strategies and such. So yeah, I think that's important. Is just there's going to be a grind for it, and you should be ready for that.
Yeah, quick side note on lead code. If you pay for their premium account, they actually have like the questions that each company asks the most. And I hear that the questions that they say Facebook asks the most, they actually ask those like pretty often.
Mm-hmm. So I've definitely heard that from other people too. I studied those questions. Unfortunately, I was not as lucky. I think I got one that was sort of similar, but it wasn't exactly, and then my other 4 weren't. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't bother to do that. I got rejected. Then I asked for the list from a friend. Then I saw my question on that list.
Oh, it's so tragic.
Just Facebook asked a lot of tree questions, and out of my 4 rejections, 3 of them were tree questions.
Yeah.
That I got rejected.
One of mine was something about tree iterators and creating tree iterators and all that. NDA. Yeah, I can't really go exactly into it, but let's just say something.
Let's just stop there. I
mean, a tree iterator, is just
Yeah, there are many ways you can go about it.
There's so many questions with tree. I didn't give exactly the questions.
You go forward and backward, up and down.
Yes, stuff like that.
So that's your story. What are you looking forward to?
At Facebook? I think it's just going to be a great work environment, honestly. I've heard that from so many people now that I kind of have to believe that to be true.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
I know, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but
Okay, so why don't you tell me a little bit about like the process of your interview?
Sure. So it started off with
actually from the very beginning, like
sure, from the
you got referred, and then what happened?
Beginning, yeah, so I got referred, and I was pushing it off for a little while. That was a couple emails back and forth. I've heard this from many people, it's very hard to contact the Facebook recruiter. I think I had to send about 5 or 6 emails to even get it noticed at the start, and I even went to our career fair to meet up with the lady who I was going back and forth with on emails to talk to her about it. So once I finally got my date set when I was ready, this is about mid-October, I had my phone screen, which was alright. It was 1 question. It was roughly a LeetCode medium question, and it was alright. I had a couple of optimization errors, but luckily I passed that. And then I went on site about a week and a half or 2 weeks later, about the end of October for the on-site, which was one of their U days that they call it. It was a combination of the interviews, and then afterwards they show us around campus and give us free swag, blah, blah, blah. So this was, it started off, I got there about 9 a.m. I had 3 back-to-back interviews, so this was 10, 11, and 12, I believe, were the interview times, and then 2 of them were coding with, I think there were 2 questions each, all 4 LeetCode medium type questions, and then the last one was more of a LeetCode easy, plus like it was a manager interview, so they were trying to see more behavioral stuff, and I kind of clicked with the last one really well. I think that's where my interview went, where I got bonus points for my interview. So
this guy used to be like a salesman at Costco. So
yeah, I used to.
He knows how to sell himself.
So I get along with people pretty easily. And then afterwards, they showed us around campus. So it was pretty sweet. I left there about 2, 3, and then about a week and a half later, I got the offer through a call. So.
Yeah, my Facebook. So I interviewed for a summer internship position 2 years ago. I mean, I interviewed every year, but yeah. So I went to Seattle, and I had like roughly the same experience. I had a first phone screen, and then they flew me on site to Seattle. But for an intern, you only get 1 on-site interview, but full-time you get like, 4, right?
You get 3 on-site, yeah. So 3 interviews. I remember walking back in and seeing all the interns. I was so confused. I was like, how did they get out so early, you know? It turns out they'd been sitting there for like an hour and a half waiting for us to finish our interviews, just chilling. So
yeah, no, actually we were chilling, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were waiting for the full-time people.
Yeah.
So that could be good or bad, because for us, we only get 1 shot, and then it was like U Day too, so like all these students come in, they hold like presentations, talks, you can meet like, you get a tour of the office, you meet like different engineering managers, and it's like a Q&A session, and then you only get 1 question. Yeah. So it's like it was a lot of pressure for me, and actually it got to me like so hard. Yeah. And I just like brain farted.
Yeah, one of my friends that was interviewing for internship there, he's done, his first internship was at Amazon, his next internship is going to be at Bloomberg. So he's a really qualified guy, and I think he's much smarter than me, but he actually just had an off day, but since he was for internship, he only had, 1 question plus like, a side question or whatever, but his main question, he just had an off day and he bombed it, and he didn't get another shot. Whereas for like Microsoft, he had 5 questions, and he did well on all of those except for one of them, but because he had those 5 questions, he actually got the offer too. So, nice. So it's definitely a double, edged sword. If you have a really good day, you just get lucky, if right? If you have a good day, you just study that question on LeetCode, maybe it could really pay off. But yeah.
What are your thoughts on doing a question you saw before?
I would definitely tell. I think it gets you bonus points. It really depends on how much, because I had actually done a question at Microsoft. I had done the question before. I told him, and then I redid it. Or he said, that's okay, just go through with it. I actually redid it, and he didn't like the answer somehow. I know it was optimal. I know it was solved correctly, and he still didn't like it. So I'm not entirely sure on that matter. But I got rejected from Microsoft by something like that. So it was really weird.
Interesting.
That's why I don't know if that's the right answer, because I told, and he still didn't like it. So maybe I messed up somewhere, but I went home and put it on LeetCode real quick, and it was right. So I don't really know what to say. Maybe he didn't like me, but
everyone likes me.
Oh, so nice.
Okay. So what do you think Facebook is looking for?
They actually told us a couple of times what they were looking for exactly. What they're looking for is someone who's very consistent, I'd say. They can answer a variety of questions, and I know that kind of just went against the internship thing because they only do 1 interview, but for full-time, they're going to probably give you a variety of questions. So for me, like I saw graph problems, I saw tree problems, I saw array problems, and they're looking to make sure that you're also very outgoing, or you have a good personality too. So they're definitely not going to give you as hard of questions. I think all of mine were about LeetCode medium, when I've seen many Google people get LeetCode hards. So I think that they're going to be less on the technical side, but they're going to be more on the personality side.
Okay. I'm not sure I agree with you on that.
No?
Because my interviewer at Facebook told me, like, it's really hard to reject someone that's, like, technically strong.
Sure.
So I guess maybe there's, like, a balance there. Like,
Yeah.
if you're really strong technically, but you're, like, antisocial,
Yeah.
then...
I think
he was like, as long as there are no red flags, there's no reason not to.
Yeah. I think that the main thing is that they because they told us they'll weight personality in the thing, where I know some companies don't weight personality at all. They just want technical skill. But
Google.
Yeah, at Google they really just want technical skill. So, but I'd say it's I mean, all these companies want the best talent, so it's mainly going to be about talent. And
you can have the greatest personality, but if you don't meet the technical bar, then you probably won't get hired.
Whereas for most companies, if you meet the technical bar, it's fine. Especially if you exceed it, it's going to be fine. But I just know that my recruiter told me specifically that Facebook does put a little bit of weight on personality as well. So
nice. I didn't know that. Okay, so I don't remember all the advice I gave you.
Sure.
And maybe there's advice that other people gave you.
Sure.
But what advice helped you the most?
I think some of the most important advice that I've gotten, first off, it's kind of it's sort of a cancerous environment, I'd say, but if you can go on Reddit/CS career questions, the info there definitely helped me a lot in preparing. Unfortunately, it's kind of like an ego boost for a lot of people, so you're going to see a lot of stuff and maybe get discouraged, but for me, I don't really get discouraged by other people's success, so I got a lot of useful information from some of the words on there. Some actual advice, though, is I gave it before, but don't be afraid to absolutely suck. I'm pretty sure I was awful at LeetCode. I mean, I knew I was awful at LeetCode when I started, and if you don't put in the time and effort, you're not gonna grow. I think it was hard at first because I felt like, I'd done well in my classes and all that, and doing good in data structures, I'm doing fine in all this stuff, but I can't even pass these easy questions that I saw in the first 2 weeks of classes. Like, what the hell's going on? It just comes with practice. So just give it a lot of practice.
Yeah, definitely. Why didn't you ask me for help?
Huh?
Why didn't you ask me for help?
Help because he's too busy. This guy is interning.
I always make time for you.
This guy's interning at 20 different places at once. So he's got no time for me.
How is that?
He's the Jedi and the Padawan. I'm just trying to become the Jedi Master.
So, okay, what advice from there did you think helped you the most?
From where?
From Reddit.
From Reddit? I think it was how to prepare for certain companies. Resume advice for sure. That's a really big one. So I wasn't getting anything from any companies, no responses, no rejections. I mean, for my internship, I had like a 2% I guess response rate, and from there I got one offer. So definitely fine-tuning my resume to be project heavy, projects I think, and then kind of like schoolwork maybe, but yeah, having project heavy and then having my work experience under that, because at the time I didn't have any internship experience, was important. But then I saw for full-time, internship experience is the most important thing, so that needs to go on top. Then like projects and then schoolwork, or so there's a lot of just micro advice like that helps you get those percentage points that put you above the competition. Because that's what it all comes down to. This field is extremely qualified. I know there's tons of people from even Berkeley that can't find internships, but I know they're extremely qualified. So I was just thinking, these are the people I have to compete against. I need these like little extra things. I need to go above and beyond in some, way, shape, or form. And that's, I put a little bit extra effort into that, just researching all these little tips. I'd say that if you are a newer student preparing for this process, let's say you're like a freshman or sophomore, you should definitely focus on your like projects first, because projects will get you noticed by companies. Then you should maybe focus on your grades, and then you should focus on your experience, I guess, because the experiences beyond an internship are very meaningless to these companies. Maybe a little bit of work experience will help, but it won't matter compared to someone else that has an internship. But
by work experience, do you mean like?
No, I'm talking about like working at some random job, not CS related.
I guess finally, you kind of touched on this, but like, what advice would you give others?
Find a good friend group, I think, is the most important thing. Especially if you're coming into college and you're looking at this. The most important thing is to have friends who are motivated and working hard as well, and who are going to push you in the right directions. That's one thing that I did well at the beginning of my school career or college career, I guess, is I just always put myself with good people. And that's definitely, I think, what paid off the most, because I saw what they were doing. They were gunning for internships, or they were doing well in school, and so I wanted to do well in school too. That's definitely a really important thing. And from there, they'll open up avenues of success. Maybe they will get an internship they can refer you next year, or maybe they give you networking opportunities too. Like they're also making good friends, stuff like that. So I'd say that that's the best advice I could give someone.
That's actually really helpful. Yeah, I could have done that more. I was really just like a lone wolf. I was like,
sure,
I don't need tutoring to get a job, or I don't need like the tutor career fair. I just do everything by myself.
Yeah,
it kind of worked out, but I felt like with friends, it's easier and it's like more fun.
Yeah, lone wolfing is going to be harder. It's definitely possible still. It's just like when you're grinding those late nights, doing projects, you want to, when you want to bounce off questions. It's at jobs you don't work alone.
Right.
You work with a team. You work so you can bounce ideas off of each other, and that's how it should be as well. And you should get into that mindset early at school rather than later.
So my camera just stopped recording randomly, so I just started back on. But I guess the last thing I want to talk about is what's your experience like as a transfer?
Sure.
And also like, what made you switch from econ to computer science? Like what about computer science did you like better than econ? And what did you like about computer science in general?
Sure. So starting off with transferring, for any transfers out there, I'd say just focus on transferring to a good school for one. The school name in this industry unfortunately matters quite a bit. So I would focus on that, keeping your grades up, of course, and gaining relevant skills. So immediately when you come in, you can try to get an internship, because a lot of these students will have an internship or be prepared for an internship by junior year. And if you're not ready to get an internship after junior year, you won't have any experience going into getting a full-time job for senior year. So I would definitely recommend, doing some, I guess, leak code prep, and maybe even trying to get an internship. I know it's extremely hard from junior colleges or community colleges, so but definitely give it a shot. What made me switch from econ to computer science? So I have a little story about that. I actually, when I was an econ major, it was my junior year spring semester, and I was going to a career fair. And I went up to one of the people and one of the recruiters, and the guy in front of me was actually an econ major, and he gave his little spiel. Hi, I'm interested in your company, blah, blah, blah. and the recruiter didn't seem very interested. And then I did the exact same thing. I gave the exact same spiel, and the recruiter also didn't seem interested, of course. And I kind of thought to myself, like, what's going on here? And I realized that from college, if you're not gaining a skill, which Econ wasn't really giving me, you're not going to impress these companies very much anymore. They're all looking for some technical skills for most positions, and I'd say Econ is right there where you're looking for a sort of technical position, maybe a financial analyst or something. And I was realizing that I didn't have any of these technical skills to sell to them. I just had maybe a nice school name in Berkeley, but everyone around me had that school name as well, so it didn't set me apart from anyone. And that's why I really was looking for something like computer science. That's kind of why I thought this was after I had met Jeffrey at Yelp to talk to him about these things. So that's what really changed me, and I know that changes a lot of people to go into a more technical field, as they realize that, hey, I'm going to college, I'm paying all this money, and I'm not actually learning anything from it. So anything useful, I should say.
Yeah, I have no more questions.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was nice. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for visiting Lyft.
Yeah.
We just came back from dinner.
Yeah, Lyft's pretty sweet.
Should join.
Wish I got an interview here. I didn't. It's totally fine. Anyways, but
yeah. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. If you guys like it, let me know in the comments, and then I'll try to interview more of my friends, because a lot of my friends are really awesome in one way or another, and they all have their own unique stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but until then, I'll see you in the next video.
Later. Like, rate, subscribe, comment.
No, don't. I never say that in any of my videos.
Like, rate, subscribe, comment.
And turn on the notification bell.
And turn on the notification bell, and donate to my
Patreon.
something.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh man, I hate interviews.
You're doing the interviewing. You're not the person on the other end. Get yourself together, Jeffrey.
Okay.
Oh, I guess I'm doing high.
All right, we're starting. Shut up.
Kawaii.
Shut up.